podcast. My name is Dave, and I'm joined as ever by my consummate host,
Ian.
Hello.
We're talking about E2 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
a hot one.
It's a hot one. And it's so exciting to sort of think about all the stuff that was going in before we got there and before we arrived. Like the hype levels building through the day, but also the exhausting heat that was coming down in preparation for it was a heady mix.
Man, it was I was coming into my first actual thing of being a senator. My first actual event of being like the full weekend.
Yeah.
And I was like absolutely fucking shitting it. Like I really hadn't had enough time to really like immerse myself in all the fucking different faculties of what it is to be a fucking senator, right?
Yeah.
Kind of know some bits, like
Yeah.
quite a lot of bits, but like there's a lot to kind of learn.
You did have a lot of time to prepare, though, if you really think about it. I mean,
oh yeah, dude, I had loads of time to prepare, but I didn't do any fucking preparation. Like that's Jesus. I was doing night shifts, but man, when it came to actual time game in, I was like, fuck it, like I might as well just give it my all, see how it goes.
And it's really strange because I didn't see what you did at time in, because I was drawn off to the skirmish.
Oh yeah, tell us about the fucking badass time in skirmish.
Yes, there was so as a result of everything that happened at the end of the last thing, like the whole debacle in Liafhaven, of which I'm kind of slightly responsible. That this was an opportunity to basically save the spy network which were based in that region, which, as a result of how bad things had all gone, were now under pressure and might have been eliminated. And I was like, on the lead into time in, I'd not really read it properly, and I'd assumed that only people from the region of Liafhaven could be on the skirmish. Mm-hmm. But on the day when I got there, people were like, "Are you going to be part of the rescue party?" And it was like, I hadn't read it properly. 70 people go to actually rescue these other people.
And 70 is a scary number for a skirmish because they're massive.
And it was a proper, like, and we're going to rescue other players, bear in mind. And that means the skirmish team is, you imagine, like, it was a strange battle. But when the people brought it up, like, are you going to go on it? And I was like, I have to go on it. And I hadn't like prepared myself mentally at all, but I have to go, right? Like, as a result, like, narratively and stuff, it's just like, I have to go. It was a real hype way to start, right? Like, taking the field, some of the comments when I was standing in the line, the jokes, it was fun, right? It was really good banter when, like, forming up that there. I had, like, some of my group there as well. So it was like, theoretically, because we'll get into this, but it's the last time I was in command of any no archers, essentially. Even though really Silver led the sort of the skirmish element of it, because it was so quick. It was nice just to do that little final run out, actually, which I had not prepared for at all. So it was a really nice treat to start the game with.
How'd the skirmish go?
It was great. So we basically just ran, grabbed these things, did a bit of fighting. I took like 5 arrows with me because the whole idea was the skirmish was going to be like 10 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't want to have loads of stuff. I've got to think about my fitness and all that kind of stuff as well. Like, I don't want to like suddenly tank myself just from the first skirmish and then not be able to do anything else.
So where was it? Is it in the wooded area?
It was in the wooded area, yeah. It was nice, dude. It was just like I can't really even describe it to you fully because it was very quick. It was like running in, grabbing people, fighting, taking shots, helping with extraction, and then just running back. It was great, but it was just a real nice adrenaline kick. It was one of those situations where I didn't even see that many bad guys in some ways, right? Like, I wasn't engaged heavily with it. I was just helping with like extracting people, getting positions, and then just making moves and pulling out. It was nice. It was properly nice. But this did mean that I started the event in my armour. And the problem was, straight after the time in skirmish, I knew that the order of things was there was standing, and I'd been buzzing, but I purposely tried to limit the number of people who I told that Georg, who had basically made me voice of Thorns for the event, which was like, for those who missed the pre-LARP, it's basically like the master of ceremonies for the military sort of conversation that takes place essentially after the main national address.
It's very spicy.
It's very spicy given what happened last event.
Because the amount of people that blame Talis for the death of Larkin personally, it's
a non-zero number.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like it's it's like it was. So I had all of that to prepare for, right? And then I knew so there was firstly going to be the announcement, but then there was going to be Thorns Council afterwards, which I'd obviously have to be voice for. And then I thought, and so I was like, there's no time to change out the armor, so I'm going to have to just wear it the whole time. Which is not anything I mentally or physically prepared myself for. But it was really good.
So you got your helmet on,
everything. I went out in full regalia as well, because it was I figure, as again, if I'm going to do it, it's got to be all the kit, right? So I but the interesting thing was I've never done the job before, and the other part of it is I need this barb, right, this spear, which is important to a thing called the Vate Hunt, which to the Battle of the Barb that takes place later on in the event. And the idea is this is supposed to go to the winner of that contest, and this is a thing that I hold for the purpose of basically passing it on.
It's a very big deal within the nation, right?
Yeah, I just had immediately as soon as this actual, I've never had, bear in mind, I've never had a position like yours or anything in any capacity in sense where I've had something that's like a tradition, a thing, a principle that's based in the larger body group that we inhabit that has something to it, right? So it's like suddenly this spear was in my hands. I was like, I've got to do. I actually ended up being pretty not great with it, but it was just like.
Well, you went with the skirmish, so you gave it to Keys.
Yes, that was so good actually. He hid it under this flag to basically reveal and give to me just before I stepped out, and when we got to standing,
well, we had standing. Lots of people were already on the skirmish, but the numbers were pretty good.
Yeah.
And the lady that runs standing now. I can't remember her name. I haven't asked her anyway. But she fucking rocks.
Really good.
She's so good at what she does. Wasn't she the general for one of the battles as well or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, she rocks. But yeah, did obviously really hot, so everyone's trying to get through standing, trying to speed things up.
Hot.
And then you step in, and then there's a lot of shouting.
So just before I step in, I get given this magazine, so this copy of the Inquiring Ink Cap, and so I'm in the queue to get ready to make my statement, right? Holding the barb, I get handed this newspaper, and I have it here. I'm presented with Turntail's Talis tells tale, and there's a note saying there's a separate supplement that's inside the paper.
Yeah.
And it's a double-sided thing showing my face.
No. It's a full page spread of Talis.
And then with the back is this account that I'd written for him, which is my side of the story. But then what's great about it is it's got all of these. There's an eyewitness account, which is so good. It's just written so well. The whole thing was so phenomenal, and it was so suddenly having this thing open and just other people around me and their reactions to it was so much fun.
He's never spelt my name correctly.
Well, we orbit in different circles. It's a paper of refined taste. It's Talis Ashbourne's favourite paper. But
let me just talk about standing as well. So the whole nation's there apart from the people that are out in the skirmish. So then they're introducing different people, and they go, and our senators.
Yes.
And they point out me, and they're like, oh, who are you? Because they don't know who I am because I'm so new and nobody knows me.
Yeah.
And then like Leafy's proxy for Miaran was there, and Travid.
Yeah.
And Travid takes a step out into the middle of the circle, and I follow him. I make 2 steps forward, and then I suddenly and then I look back and I find out that Maddie isn't actually following me into the circle, and then Travid starts up.
Yes.
And I look clownish there
Well,
for a little bit of time
Travid,
before I take 2 steps back and then try and hide my shame of why I ever stepped out into the circle.
Get down, Mr. Senator.
So bad.
Listen, I mean, Travid's just a phenomenal. Like
he's so organised and good.
Varunin
Making the rest of us look bad.
is just what a senator I have. What a senator I have in Varunin.
He's like, here are all the options that you have and it should be a part of, and I'm like,
so good. He activates games so well, dude. It's just, I have no idea physically how he does it. It's incredible. Like the guy's a genius.
we can all agree he should pack it in.
Chill out a little bit. Not make our newest senator look bad. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's what I'm trying to say. I need to find my voice, and this was definitely like the first kind of thing where I was like, oh god.
I genuinely though, there's a bunch of times this event where I saw you and the other senators and the other people in the politics game talking with each other, and it was fascinating. I'm just going to say it now. There's points where it's genuinely like a kind of like I'm a fly on the wall in a political thriller or something, right? Like a TV show where I'm like, there's some conversation going on, and like the stakes, because obviously we're playing in a dramatic sort of cinematic environment where the stakes are always massively high. There's always an army ready to move in. There's always a decision that has to be made, and if it's the wrong one, it's very bad, and people can long project into the future. And listening to you and Travid and all the other people in the politics game, just as someone with no knowledge at all, it's so fun, just to eardrop, right, little bits, and just like that's I there was a lot of names said, and the consequences sounded very high. I understood like none of it, right? It's so interesting.
Being a new senator, I'm like, I read a bunch of the Winds of War and Winds of Fortune. When I got to the event, they completely evaporated out of my head. I had like a few key issues that I was interested in, but what's interesting about being a senator is people come to you, and they're like, here's what I got, and I'm like, okay, have you funded it? And they're like, yes, very much, or it doesn't require anything, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then but basically all I do, okay, this is secret to my success or lack of it. It's hard to say. It's the key to my
your vibe. It's how you play.
No, I'm to my treading water at this stage. Okay.
Yeah.
Ask them what they've got planned, how they want to do that, and then if they have the resources to be able to back that up.
I think that's always an
and
important
what they
question.
want off me as well.
Yeah.
And basically, it usually is just like, oh man, just other people are really passionate about that one thing. If they can give me like, hey, we've done this, everything's good to go, then I'll try and help them. But weirdly, I gave up I get 1 motion and I get 1 second every event. So they're very important little things.
Yeah.
I ended up using
and
mine.
This is, just to clarify, this is a thing that's standard. So every senator just gets 1 motion and 1 second.
Yeah.
That's all you get all event. It's like a resource, essentially, that you can use.
It's, So, I used mine pretty early. So there were 2 things I used it for. One was giving a second to the Imperial Senate vote, the Imperial throne vote, and then my main one for the election of the Spy Master that was going to run out. So both of mine were proper administration ones. There was no moving and shaking there.
I guess though, in the record, you get to have your name behind them.
I need to work on it. It's one thing I need to work on.
Yeah.
I need to not give them away so early. I think there's something coming into the event. I was like, oh man, like people are going to give me some shit if I don't use my thingy jiggers, right? Like I've got to do something.
Yeah. Are you thinking now the best way is to hold on to it till a bit later and sort of?
But I'm not gaining anything while doing all of this, I'm not like the other senators aren't like, wow, that hotshot new Gellert Ashbourne. He certainly is a shrewd political...
don't destroy the fiction in my head. I love the idea
of shrewd
like...
political force. They're like, fuck, that new guy at the back. Like,
you know what I feel like? I feel it's like a police force where like everyone else sees you as a fucking like as a hotshot, right? And the actual reality is you're Frank Rowan or whatever, right? Clowning around.
I'm trying my best.
No, dude, you're doing great, dude. I'm so proud of you, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but yeah, let's talk about the Thorns Council.
Okay, Jesus. Well, no, that's okay. So I step out into standing when it comes to my bit, and I had this whole thing in my mind that I was going to do. And bear in mind, there've been conversations about the branding and how we wanted to deal with that
because the branding is the thing that people think you did wrong, that you admitted to doing wrong.
Yeah, and to wear the shame of it.
And that they were going to do this thing, which is like a mark on your face.
Yeah, it's a curse, which is basically if people ask you what it is, you have to repeat the words, which is important. And I don't think I can talk about the actual thing when we get to it, because I think that's a totally IC thing. You should come and find out. I did mess that little bit up a little bit at one point, but I'll just have to improve. But like stepping forward. My plan was, my thoughts on it was I wanted everybody to have a chance to vocalize their opinions. Like, I didn't want it to be just like I didn't want it to be like seen kind of fake, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted it to feel naturalistic where everyone could react.
You were like, get into what you did, because you were like, dang!
I kind of approached it that way. I hadn't even told you what I was going to do, in a way. So I stepped in, I was just like, I thought I'd open with actions have consequences. At that stage, though, Justin's immediately like, that they do, Talis Ashbourne. And he's like, so walks in, and man, dude, the guy is crazy good, right? Like, he's so good. And bear in mind, I've spoken with a bunch of people around the event, but it's more of like, just like, you cool? And I'm like, yeah, I'm cool, right? Like, you know what I mean? Just checking in, making sure that people are like, we want to do a thing, like let's make it cool. And it's like and it's just, but not like just doing it very loose, just like, yeah, let's go, right? I'm in.
When people were like, when they charged out the crowd and were like,
what was it like from your perspective? Because like my perspective was like, from my perspective it was like me and Justin in direct conversation.
Oh, I should mention, I didn't, when I had to move position back awkwardly after Trevor was speaking, I couldn't find a good standing spot. Right. So I had to stand legs akimbo over a jut of wood that made me look like I was doing like a power stance.
Right.
So
that's so good.
Because you can't, obviously everyone around me can't see that I can't put my foot there. I'm just doing a fucking big old wide-legged power stance to let people know what the fuck I'm about.
I love
so
it
awkward.
So much, dude. So good for you.
So you come out, and then immediately people are yelling at you, and I'm like, so Gellert really does believe that like we should use the military council to advise us and like keep the fuck out of their way. And I feel that way about Thorns Council as well. Thorns are going to sort this out. Trust the system. Keep the fuck out of it. So yeah, but watching it was like, oh man, they're going to fucking do him right here. And then like there was some outcrying of this isn't the place to do it at Thorns Council.
Yeah.
And then what did you do?
So no, but before that, it was also all the stuff set. Like it was really fun because like people had the chance as well to like vocalize the dissent against the whole thing, right? Like I had like people come up to me and be like, "You don't have to do this," and like really, really touching, passionate conversations with people. And like, man, if I haven't actually had the chance to talk to a bunch of people because we're doing this so early after the event. If I had, I would like, I'd name a whole bunch, but just the way, because I was so like, man, it was like the one, I had like a few fears about all of this. I didn't want to like take over loads of stuff with it, right? And just seem like really kind of me-ish about everything.
I don't think that's...
But you know, that's the weird head fuckery you do with yourself, right? Because I don't think there was any risk of that really. It's just, that's kind of, you know, that's swirling around in there. And then it was like, But I also don't want it to just be like I turn up and everyone's like meh and doesn't really care, right? But people really went with me, and like, dude, it was so cool to be like, man, like I'm doing a bit of like improv theatre with people, and people are so good. I was just like, wow, dude, it was so genuinely fun just to live in this whole moment, and like it all felt so like the whole thing was just IC all the time. But so I had people dissenting against it, and then that was decided that we were going to do it at Fawns Council. And then I'm not sure how well this came across, but basically, again, because I was like, I'm kind of very first person at this point, and I'm like, I had made my big plan was I'd be like anyone who's not satisfied, and then I kind of basically applied Blade Orla Blackthorn to my sword, and then I venomed myself. And I was basically like, I won't make the deed.
And venom, like, reduces your bleed out counter to like 30 seconds,
yes.
right?
Yeah, right. So it's basically, if I'm taken down, I've got 30 seconds. And I was like, fuck it. Like, Talis is like in, you know what I mean? Like, he's all in.
It was an absolute mad laddery move.
It was so good, but I was just like, because I hadn't told you about it, but it was the one thing I was like, yeah. And I'd written in a bunch of the letters I'd sent to people. Like, I'd done like this is very cheesy, but I just thought it was kind of fun to add like an element of mystery to it, where I'd written like the recipe for Orla Blackthorn. Like, the last thing I have to do before I head off is just get these herbs together. And it's like, that was the Orla Blackthorn. And it was like that I used to venom myself. And it was fun. I don't know how well I actually communicated at the moment, if people got that was what I was doing.
I don't know. Well, there's a lot going on. I knew
so
I picked up on it, but like, there was a lot going on,
dude. So yeah, I venomed myself, and it was like, I won't make the deed, or it's doing difficult anywhere, save for your hearts kind of deal. And then off I.
So, I think just before you started speaking, Brenos came into the circle.
Yes.
And he looked fucked, and everyone around him looked really sad.
This was
and Brenos is like a general who I think he served the same army since before time.
Yeah, he's OG as it gets.
Yeah, and it's like, he's a really good lad. Like, he's such a nice person. The way he plays this badass fucking warlord, but he's actually a really fucking nice guy. He's a legend and very competent.
Like, in a game where there's a lot of people who want to be King Leonidas or some shit, right?
Stoic badass.
Like, legit as all fuckery, right? You have a guy who legitimately just bosses it and owns it to the point where, like, there's total buy-in. Whenever Brenos is talking, there's total buy-in.
When I heard someone stabbed you, and then I was like, oh God, someone... And then it was like, who? And it was like, Brenos. And I was like, oh... Like,
yes,
well, that's got to be. That's got to be so spicy.
It's so good. Like, I will get to Owen later, but man.
So I lean down and I'm like, I just whisper to him because it's standing. I'm like, I look up, and he looks up at me, and I go, "I'm out. You okay?" And he just shakes his head, like a tiny little shaky shake, but like, and I just stood straight back up again. I was like, shit.
It's mad genius, dude.
Shit.
It's mad genius.
We just lost Larkin.
Dude, it's crazy.
We just lost Larkin.
It's crazy.
And now there's kind of like a terminal, very experienced general who's very good at this. Terminal next to me, like,
was the steady hands, right? Was like we were going through, because there's been the losses. It's hard to really say. The losses were so massive from last event in so many different kind of key ways in the military part of the game. Military is not really the right term, I suppose. Like this, the part that do like, I guess it is the military part of the game. But and it's just like, it was such an awesome move. Like, at this moment, the person that we all thought was like,
unkillable.
Brenos, right?
They're an unkillable hero.
And then, wow, it was so good.
And then all of a sudden, they're terminal.
And you've got this. So essentially, you've got this whole thing. And I'm going to be Fawn, a voice of Fawns. And you've got this whole. We need that Larkin's position is free and loose, right? And literally up for election. And it's just it feels like the the whole military thing was just like, whoa.
The fact you're seeing over the general re-election for
oh my god,
the person that a lot of people think you're responsible for killing.
Yes, it was outrageous, man. It was like so. But the other really important thing about this, all the way through, I'm still wearing my armour, and I haven't had a chance to change or anything. So we go then straight into Thorns Council again, still wearing my armour. And we're like, I was gonna be like, let's elect Larkin first, but like, they wanted if it was gonna be a branding, it was gonna get done there. Yeah. So it just was like we opened up with a branding, and actually like, because it was one of those things where it's like it takes a certain amount of time, and obviously it's super hot, and everyone wants to get on with different parts of the game.
Dude, shut the fuck up! It was awesome. It was fucking really, really. It was like, oh my god, they're gonna fucking brand this guy, and then.
Jeez, it was so dramatic, man. Like, to be part of it, like, just everyone shouting at me, people, like, giving me looks of support and stuff, and...
It was heartbreaking.
It was, like...
At one point, a bunch of people stepped out. I feel like, oh, man, who was that? I know people were really close to fucking pulling weapons and getting involved. But you were like...
I got... this is heavy, right? Like, I got asked. I got, like, pulled aside by a bunch of people. I won't name names. And I was like, you have to get them to stop. Like... And it's like... I was like, yeah, like, I have to. And it was like... Oh, bear in mind, this is all an IC conversation. And it's just so... It was so, like, man, like, yeah, like, it was just so dramatic on so many levels. I had no idea that I would ever be part of anything like it, right? Where it's just like the number, because like there's like a group of people who support me, right? And I don't think it's not a small group, right? And it was like, yeah, it was so cool and so dramatic to be part of. Like when they were holding me, I was like, I was kind of like shaking. I was saying our words from ashes we rise, from sorrows we grow, kind of just like whispering over and over like a patter kind of thing. And then it was like, then he called out Farron to be the last Shatter song to give the branding itself.
Our homeboy Farron steps out to deliver the fucking the burn on the face. Like that.
It was so heavy. Good, man. So I got this cut for the, and then the brand's applied basically. The ritualists, by the way, again, I've not had a chance to get in touch, but like so good. Like, and bear in mind, I want to emphasize this, like the entire way through doing everything I did this weekend, I was like, the amount of checking in was like so good. Like everyone was like just constantly checking in, just constantly like being, is this cool? Are you okay? Like things like that, just checking up on me. And it just it just empowered me so much because I could just be like, yeah, let's go. This, it's just like, it was so fun. It was just, but the level of like care that everyone showed, it was genuinely touching.
Get to the good bit.
So then I get branded by Fahrenheit, and he's like fucking, it's so emotional, yeah. And
those audible gasps. Like,
yeah, I don't know, like, because obviously I was trying to do the scream of pain and stuff. Hopefully all that was good and things. And then like, one, like I was it was so fun. I sort of went to stand up and then fell over again and stuff, and people helped me up. And then I had to go straight, because I can't talk, by the way. You have, if you want to know what the things about, you have to come and find out. Although, please don't just form like a 50 strong queue of people just asking me. You shouldn't even
mention what it...
Yeah, but I really don't dick with it, but obviously, but like, it's fun, and you have to find out about it. I see what the actual curse is. But straight after that, got to elect Larkin. And like...
So while your face is still sizzling away...
I've got like a rag to it, because obviously we didn't have time to apply any of the prosthetic or anything.
We do a vote to who's going to lead Larkin's army. And there were 4 candidates?
Yeah, 4 candidates. And I have to like lead Thorns Council still, right? Because that's my position. And I want to shout out, there's this one player, again, I've not made touch, but like they play this kind of like seasoned fawn, right? And they're kind of grumpy, and they've seen, like, they're the kind of guy who's seen a lot, right? He's been through a lot. And he's seen a lot of like shit on his way through, right? And he's like very pragmatic, very practical. And he's like pushing me when I'm in Thorns Council, right? Like trying to like push me out of the centre so I can't talk, and people have to move him away and stuff. I just want to shout out that guy, like so cool. Like awesome RP, like so good. He gets completely, like, we've never really spoken, but I think he gets exactly what's going on. It's so fun. And there's little things like that. People who will be like quiet when I walk past and stuff, and people, it's like the way that people have been really good with it. It's just so much fun. But yeah, we do this thing where I have to do this vote for candidates. And I'd never really done like announcements, like, because you've done things as ambassador and as like senator and stuff. Obviously, I've not done anything like actually having to be official things getting announced, right?
I'd say you've done a fair amount of public speaking, though.
Yeah, I suppose I felt ready, but yeah. So then stepped out and did that. But the candidates are so strong, and there's so many people coming forward with. Like all four, I felt really genuinely answered the questions very well, because I was fielding a bunch of questions from the floor, from people behind me as well. It was great. Like, I felt everyone really came in with strong reasonings. Like, even the people who like didn't get as many votes, because there's two basically main strong forerunners for it, right? But the other two, I think, did really good jobs at like expressing themselves.
Going around and counting the vote was fucking incredible.
You and me doing it was great, by the way.
Oh,
I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but like you were very interested in it. And
but I was there as the representative, because basically the army, the Fawns vote is purely a Navarr national thing.
Yeah.
Officially, all three senators have to basically say this is the general,
yeah,
and then we say that's the general. So it's actually the senators that decide, and I was there as the representative of that. So yeah, I wanted to count. I wanted to see which candidate
won, right? Yeah.
Man, there were like those two candidates had the majority of the vote, and they stretched back.
Yeah, we counted it twice, both sides, just to make sure.
Yeah,
and there was definitely both of us counting twice.
And there was definitely no doubt, right?
Yeah, there was definitely no doubt at all. And it was just that moment when we both stood and were like, we both literally said the same numbers, and we'd done it like the previous time as well. And then I just walked back and I touch him on the shoulder, and this is the. I haven't taken his name down, but he's a great guy, like so nice.
He does the
national training, or he used to, and he had to step down this event. And just putting my hand on his shoulder and like saying you got it, and him like collapsing down, like there was genuinely like, for the guy, like, he's obviously wanted it for a while, and it's something that, dude, it's a big position. It's been like you getting senator, right? These are big roles in things, and they're things that players work towards. So I was super happy for him, and it was, I thought like Malik did really well. It was like I felt everyone was like so strong, and it's actually I really enjoy the elections. I think like I look at your election as like a really, like you and Demelza when you both did yours.
I think elections are cool, whatever. I think
it's like
even if they're like, I think they're a really good learning experience, even if you don't win. And bear in mind, I've been in my fair share of not winning elections.
You almost were going to be known as the unelectable, but you managed to get yourself damn elected.
I'm on a roll right now.
Yeah, you're on a roll right now. But yes, so that was so cool. Then there was obviously a whole bunch of other announcements at Fawns Council. One of the best things, though, for me personally, was Brenos stepping out and basically giving his final address to the Fawns. And it was so good, and like to just for the mention of like my character even in those last bits is like such a privilege, right, dude? So fucking crazy,
mate,
to have been involved
so
in a story
good.
Of Brenos, right? I felt like genuinely felt like that, like the end, or like I felt like fucking like Boromir, like I would have followed you.
Well,
like that kind of stuff.
During standing, okay, so I ask him the question. And he shakes his head and I look up again, and then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, I have no idea to express to this stoic bastard how I feel about it.
Yeah. And
I leaned down, and the only thing I could think of that was like appropriate to say was just like, you'll be remembered.
Yeah.
I figured that was like the best.
Dude, that's it.
That's all exactly you need to say, right? And it's just like,
yeah. I don't like, the thing is as well, I got in touch with him afterwards, and I was like, I didn't want to have a hint of like, I'm sad for you, or I'm sad to see Benos gone. It was more like I was just like, man, you just fucking bossed it. Like you know what I mean? Like we're talking like top, like I would love to be able to be good.
I'm really curious to see I think he's jumping the fence and going reffing.
He is going reffing. I think he's really hype about it. I'm really excited for him, and that's why I'm just thinking like, you know, it must be. I kind of just having those things where you're like, yeah, I'm really happy.
But what that does is open up a whole new army as well.
Yep.
For us select.
Yes.
Theron was his proxy,
yes.
and therefore made the decision this weekend. We're going to have another vote next time in Fawn's Council. In Fawn's Council, we're going to vote for another army.
Yeah, that'll be really good fun. That'll be super fun. Straight after Fawn's Council, I'm still in my armour, by the way. These. In my mind, it's 12. It's probably less. But this number of heavily armed and armoured marchers appear. They're like, Talis Ashbourne, we'd like to invite you to our pub.
That's nice.
And they start telling me all the things that would be available to me there. There'd be drinking. There'd be gambling. There'd be songs. There'd be stories.
Sounds great.
There'd be smut.
Smut?
And I was like, these are all things I love. And I would definitely make my way there. Because I'd arranged for the Navarr's meeting directly. I mean, this is what we always do. We always do Navarr's basically straight after Fawn's. I was like, go back, change my stuff, go to Navarr's meeting. And obviously we were going to look at the election for how we handle how all of that passes on. And basically just all of the internal politics and stuff for the Navarr's and things, and just try and hammer some stuff down. So I'm like, oh, you know, basically in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'll go later. Now, these players had been in touch with me a little bit before, and I had a feeling they might do something like this. So, and it was cool. It was really, really cool. And obviously, again, it was one of those things where it was like really cool. But I hadn't thought about what that actually meant in reality, because it was like, oh yeah, I'm going to, because then they're like, oh no, I mean, we insist you come right now. And they basically escort me there, right? And what this is Wynne, who's played by Paige, who's just, again, just a wonderful player we play with, had arranged to call in a debt of these marchers to basically protect me.
I love it. Like they set a Talis bait area with all of your favourite things.
Yeah.
And just to try and keep you entertained, like...
Yeah, and they kept me there. But they're carrying me over there, right? And at one point, they're literally picking me up and my legs are like kicking, right? And then obviously people kind of start coming around. All these Navarr are obviously like, what is going on here? Like, why are these marchers taking Talis away? And I'm like, at this stage, I've kind of like decided... I'm up for a little bit of buffoonery at this stage. This is hilarious. This is fun. I'd kind of like, you know, yes, I'm in. Kind of was my mindset. So I was just like, I'll play the fool a little bit. Like, I'm on my way to the I've been offered to go to this pub. It's a really, you know, and describe all the things that are there, and that that these gentlemen have insisted and all this kind of stuff. It was so fun.
Cool too.
It was so. Oh, dude, they were so good. So this is the Blind Eye. Which had this amazing stage set up and everything there. They brought me out Breakersland Brew, which is this awesome drink. Then they brought out the lore for the Breakersland Brew, which is like a thing you can read through. And then this guy came out and played the song for the Breakersland Brew while someone else was setting up gambling games. Like, these guys... It was amazing. There was like Navarr who kind of ended up just like coming in, and then they were like they were sitting with me, and they're people who I know, and it's just like, this is genuinely fantastic. Like, there's new people who I've not met. Talis loves meeting new people as well, so it's like, you know, everyone come in and play and, you know, engage and do the things. It was like, it was so fun. But the only problem was I was still in my armour. And it was like... And originally I think they basically sworn to do this for the whole night, right? And I was like, that's amazing, by the way. That's amazing. But that's obviously not going to work, right? Like, for any party involved.
Talis is going to need to be a free bird, and go his own way eventually.
So I told them that basically I need to get out of my armour, right? Like, I've worn it the whole time. And then
me and Bung are chilling around the camp, and fucking Ian trots out, flanked by these two heavily armed mercenary marchers, and he's like, "Be right back!" And then he jumps into the tent, okay? And these two guys have to stand outside the front and like standing up, like looking away from us, like guarding the position.
It's so good.
And I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's like, well, we've been assigned to keep Talis alive. And I'm like, how much are you being paid? Like, this must be a career highlight for you. Obviously, like, really taking the piss. And it was like, how much are you being paid for this? And he goes, it's because of a debt. And we all start laughing. And just like, you're not even being paid to keep Talis. He's in the tent right now doing a costume change. Or he's cut his way out the back of the tent. But, like, Ian promised to... Talis promised not to try and escape anymore. So he only did like 6 or 7 times, but now he's definitely promised that he's definitely not going to try and escape anymore. Okay, so
I did try one like oh, there's nobody here, and I was about to sneak off, and so I was like, "Where are you going?" And they pulled me back. It was so good.
But no, the two it was fucking hilarious though.
So I get changed, and I decide again I'm going to go full out. So I go all Talis regalia. I've made this new kind of feather that sort of stands out with this bejeweled thing on the side of it, and I'm wearing all this stuff. And then I'm like, well, I agreed I'd go back with them without too much bother, so I'm heading back. And all the time. So I've got, one of them is like really talky and engaged with me, right? And the captain, right? Oh, the captain, right? He plays off it so well. Like, I constantly irritate him. I constantly annoy him, right? He hates it so much. He's so gruff and against it.
The anti-Talis, the professional mercenary hired to protect someone, and you
an
have
idiot.
To protect
like, hired to protect an idiot, right? Oh, and it was so good. There's this stage where we're walking back. And, like, I just make it at this stage. It's my purpose in life is to break this man. like that's exact. Like, he will love me, right? Like, by the end. But like, we're walking back, and I'm just like constantly going, and it's hilarious. He gets the other one. He's like, "You're very talkative. Talk to him." It was so good.
That's an order.
And then he ends up like just like marching off like ahead, and I was like talking about like the powerful stride and the prominent gait and all this kind of stuff. It's so good. We get back to camp, right? We get back to the pub. We're staying there. It's just a great time. I'm genuinely having a ball. What's going on back at where you are? Because like that was a long time. This whole thing takes 2 hours, by the way.
Goldie comes by and is desperate that I lend him my mage armor because he has to go and do something.
Okay.
And I'm like, sure. So I lend him my mediocre fucking mage armor, which is definitely not like the best, but it counts by the rules. I give him all the bits, and he gives me his stuff, and I'm like, I'm trusting you with my wallet, my coin purse, and all of my herbs or whatever. He's like, I've got the herbs or whatever. I'm just like, he gives me it, and then it's his in one of the pouch. I'm like, I'm trusting you with this, and he's like, I'm trusting you with the thing I care about most. And I look at it, and it's his little cigarette holder that's like a pipe where he sticks the fucking cigarette in. I was like, oh, I appreciate that. So we swapped belts. We swapped back later that evening, but it was like a nice little Goldie Geller fucking homie moment.
There were so many great points actually this event, because of things like this and the way the event rolled. There's a whole bunch of times where I spent a lot of time in one place, a lot longer than I normally would, which meant that I couldn't do things in other places. But it was awesome because I was like having these like these awesome scenes, dude. But it's like
you're a whirling dervish of a man, a gold and green spinning disc moving around.
Yeah, it was just, but like weirdly, I didn't get to do a whole bunch of stuff that I would normally do. Yeah, it was strange. While I was in the marches as well, like before I kind of like broke off and went back to doing my regular stuff, the news came in about the military council decision the choices that were made. So I mean, in the marches, as it learnt that we're not going to take the battle against Matilda Fisher. It was so spicy.
Matilda Fisher is like a mega boss for the marchers who have been wronged by her on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
This is their opportunity to kill her and get it done.
Finish it off. Yeah.
And military council voted 16-15 to do the other one.
Yeah.
Brenos was I heard a rumour that he was the deciding vote. Talk about throwing fucking petrol on a bonfire.
It was so spicy. Like, so bear in mind, I'm being like held at this point, right? So there is actually an active attempt to guard me, but this is nationally important information. So I have this bit where people are like moving in and out quickly to basically go and hear about all the information, share things. And there's moments where it's like I'm free, like I could go kind of thing. But I've got these other people who are kind of basically on like booze sort of tender to basically make sure that I stay there, right? So they're kind of like, no, stay. It was just awesome RP, you know. And I was like, oh, but I really want to know what's happening and all this kind of stuff. Like everyone at the table with me was just phenomenal. It was so much fun. But yeah, the spice. Having people then come in afterwards and tell me, and all the discussions, like maybe they won't take the field, was so spicy.
So the decision was to go and fight the Jotun, which was kind of like the more sensible economic type thing where it would benefit the Empire.
I have to confess, I didn't actually understand what the other option was.
And then Matilda Fisher was going to kill Matilda Fisher and end that whole fucking loop. Now, obviously, the Marshals are really fucking pissed about this for obvious fucking reasons. I have literally no idea what happens in military council.
Yeah.
I legally now can't even go in
Step
there.
in, right, that's interesting.
So I was ambassador when I got to speak there that one time. That was completely fine. Now I'm a centre. I literally can't go in. So everything I have to learn about military council has to be from their decision making and stuff like this.
That's interesting. So do you have people who like inform you on what happened? Or obviously you must have done if you knew about the Brenos thing, right? Like,
we're in Senate.
Yeah.
I go to my Senate meeting. It's fucking hot. Go through a bunch of different stuff. All pretty straightforward. I won't bore everyone with it. But we heard this clanging coming down the hill past us, and it was the fucking loud music marcher
when the
thing.
loud music set off. So marchers have this tradition basically when they're when things are bad and you've pissed them off, they'll come and they'll play loud music, which is basically just like noise outside wherever
shouting,
you are.
bells ringing, a lot of bell ringing going on,
and just calling you out basically. I heard that they did it outside military council, and then they got someone to cast the ritual necessary for them to enter military council and start doing it in military council, then they had to be removed. That's what I heard. This all might be salacious rumour.
I heard something similar.
But that's so spicy, right?
So, and then from that point on, it was like, the marchers going to take the field in battle because the orcs set the precedent of not showing up to do it, and therefore are the marchers within their rights to not do it when they're losing opportunity like this. Very spicy.
It was so good, but yeah, just to have been around it was like.
I went to the ambassadors meeting. I watched a bit of it. Everything seemed to be kind of how you'd expect it to be. Like I really can't talk about it anyway. Anyway, then I got really hungry, and then I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to go to Senate." So then I ran back to the tent, had loads of snacks, and then went off and went to Senate.
This is one thing I hadn't really eaten anything.
Yeah.
And like, I did like,
when you're just shoveling snacks in your face, supping water to make sure it goes down. Like that's where I was at. Like I didn't have long.
Yeah, cause I think it's because I'd worn the armor so long at the beginning, and it was just so hot at that stage, and it was like, I think I was like pre-knackered, like already at this point, and I was like, but I was loving every moment of it, and I was riding high on it. So one thing that I'd heard about was that they were going to do a Whispers Through the Black Gate to talk to Larkin.
Which is where you get to speak to the dead.
Yeah. I can't really talk about this, but what I will say is, like, that was, like, it was so cool to know that was happening, and it was fun, everything all my interactions around it were just really fun. But it was just like I actually didn't get to go in the end. I wasn't sure how I could or if I could, but I didn't. Literally, it was just so busy. But like,
I wonder who would pay the resources to go and talk to Talis after he dies.
I do not think people would pay the resources to talk to me after I died. But anyway, it was so cool, right, to know that was happening. That was a really cool backdrop for things. So that also meant I was in a very self-reflective mood. And I went and spoke to Iona, who basically sings the song Fly, Flee, Fly True that my bow is hallowed to. Mm-hmm. And she also lost her partner, a silverfinch, who was the winner of the first ever dueling contest.
I heard they weren't going to sing that song anymore while you were in command of the Navarchers.
Yeah, so it was so spicy. Like, so all the way through the event, me and her and all the Silverfletch crew, like, we just have this awesome RP which is just running along the background. There's like this national drama and this kind of like this, and like Talis is kind of like okay with that, right? He's kind of acknowledged all of that, but then there's this very personal connection, like they're friends, like real close friends, and like it's suddenly the story's like, I'm gonna lose a friend, right? Like an actual friend over this, and it's like, oh, it's just the stakes, but were just so high. But this is what I'm talking about, because like a story like that, and like sort of doing that kind of sort of drama, there was like constant checking in, and like, but doing it in the best way, like little looks and stuff, and just having fun with it and engaging in this really powerful RP, which was basically like, it starts off like, she doesn't know how to feel about it, and like, but there's his funerals at this time, you come and like speak, and then we'll hear what you have to say and all this kind of stuff. And it was so good. The RP was incredible the whole way through. Like, all the other Silverfletchers were like crowding around me, right? Like, right, really putting in like the heavy guilt, right? It was so good, and it was just such high drama. I loved it. I'd offered up my bow, was like to her, basically like I'd been like, you can take it back. But then everything I did, she countered it in the best way, in the most realistic way as well, and the way that was like most sort of suitable to the characters. And it was like, it was interesting to have this, like, it's kind of strange to describe, almost like an adversarial conversation which kind of like built off empathy and like a desire to like, like a friendship saving kind of conversation. It was like super cool to do that in RP. It's hard to explain. It was so much fun. So I finally got to catch up with the Navarchers after that, some of them anyway, and just like make some contact. I'd want to drop off a bunch of bows and spare arrows and stuff that people could use and things. Start handing out some of the information sheets that I produced, because I got abducted before I could hand them out. But like, so I started passing a few of those around. I finished off doing it the next day. It was fun. It was fun, but it was like, I was so tired at that stage.
Well, I mean, you've been the busy boy drinking and gambling.
Yes,
so.
Yeah. I mean, there was a point, so I had to get like numbers for skirmishes as well. I was kind of trying to help orchestrate some of that and move things around, and just catching up with like old Navarchers, but also like new people who were like looking for me. And I guess you had this experience a lot, like people looking for you and like wanting to speak to you.
It was hilarious watching different people walk down and they'd be like, I have a favour to ask from Talis, and I'll be like, oh, thank God. It's not
Yeah, it was fun, right? Like, though, because it's and like everyone's super good about like just all of the RP's insane the whole time, right? Like, I'm having a great time Talising out. I feel like the Gallop vibe is, I'd say, so interesting. Like, sometimes I'm just sitting there, and very much the same thing. Like, I'm sitting there, and then someone come for you, and I'd be like, oh man, like, I get to watch more of the political thriller that you're part of, right?
I mean,
it's so much fun.
I should mention, I also did, after Senate, I got some food, and then I headed to the pub. It was the Drunken Goose in Navarre, and we had like Senate tea time. and that was like for an opportunity to go and ask questions to.
That's cool. So is it just senators, basically?
Yeah.
That's
cool. Well, no, it was senators and anyone who wanted to stop by.
Oh, okay.
Like our constituency, whatever.
Okay, nice.
So
yeah, that's cool.
I got there. There was a representative of one of the people applying to the throne.
Yeah. So is this purely a Navarr thing? Sorry,
no.
Or is this like this is actually all the
it's
different?
It's just
nations?
where the Navarr senators are going to be.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And there was a few people. None of them were from Hircinia.
Right.
None of them. No Hircinians showed up. And then so we basically just answered questions for them. It was nice. It was wholesome. It was like me doing my job.
Yeah.
Here
what
I
is it
am.
actually like the doing of the thing? Like, is it how can you even talk about it? Like as a grander experience, what's it like?
I need to remember that most people look like they know what they're doing and have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay? Because at large sections of what's going on, I'm like going off gut instinct.
Yeah.
There's no like political education. They talk about like the Senate having its own language. Okay? And this is very true. And like you'll get a vibe for the room as things get nominated. I can't really talk too much about it because it's like all this stuff is like active game, but being a part of it is like asking a question and I'm like, fuck, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. It's probably why you should ask questions, but like I did actually I'll get to that. That's how I started the weekend. And then what's this walking past a pub?
Oh, so this happened twice on both days, but I'll just talk about it now.
Yeah.
There was a time where I walked past this pub, right, and people very distinctly said, that's Talis Ashbourne. Mm-hmm. Right? People who didn't really know, but there were some Navarris and some other people, and then it was kind of interesting because the vibe was not like, he's a really cool guy, right? Like
that's that motherfucker.
And like it was the RP with these people, by the way. I don't know. Again, this is all entirely incidental RP because nothing really happened. But it was just like I walked past, and then I realised I'd gone the wrong way, so I had to walk back again. Right, and both times they were just like following me, like with their eyes. Right, it was so interesting, and it was like might have been nothing, right, but it was like so much fun. Like I loved it. There was little bits like that.
Like, should have shanked you then.
Yes. After that, I hadn't eaten this entire time, so I go back to our camp, and our wonderful neighbours are making like incredible food on an awesome cooking setup.
Yeah, the guy was a carpenter, and his shit was on fire. Like it was a barbecue, but like it was really fucking cool,
really good, right? Like so they gave me some food. It was just so kind, man, because I'd like literally not had anything. Then that was delicious. That was just delicious. What's all this about lost coin purse?
I went out and got pretty drunk.
Yeah,
and then my coin purse. So I'd gone from like having no money.
Yeah,
and then I sold some weirwood to someone that was building a thing for a discounted price.
Yeah.
So I sold it for 4.5 friends because I'm a good senator. I'm helping out my citizens. So that's the most money I'd had in like forever.
Yeah.
And then my purse goes walkies.
Right.
I'm like, shit. So I'm gonna have to do the rest of the weekend sans cash.
Yeah.
And see how I get on. And I was just like, I reckon I can hustle some drinks.
Dude, I think actually this was a strange, like a sub-quest that had been added to your quest board that was kind of like running all the way through, was like
get free
Gellert
shit.
Surviving with no money.
So
like it was so funny.
My friend
Hobo Senator.
One of my friends in the league had some smut made, and it was very tasteful and very good. Okay. And some leaguers came around to sell it, okay? And I said I would like one. And they went, we would like some money. And I went, no, I'm very good friends with them. Just pass one here. And anarchy ensued. Eventually, Orion was like, I will sell you a map for one of these. And he said, oh, you can get a deluxe one. And then I bitched and moaned, and I got the smaller version, but I still got a copy.
It was so funny. But the great thing about it was the RP was so good. like that kind of. It was like the brokering game, like because I don't do that so much, but it was so fun to watch. Like, and it was this kind of haggling, but it's all IC haggling and all ridiculous, right? Because it's like,
oh, that was before I sold my Weirwood, by the way, so I didn't even have the money on me.
But it was like fun. It was so funny.
I went spying,
yeah,
and I got like 13 rings or something ridiculous. So I kept like telling people like, don't tell anyone this, but I'm actually a spy. But like, keep it down. I would say it like really loudly around other people so they could like listen in, because I went to the Bay of Catizar.
You did,
and did some spying. And, yeah, but don't tell anyone.
There's this actual vibe to Gellert, which you've kind of. I feel it's like grown into the character. Saying it added isn't fair. I feel it's grown into the character, where there's this kind of a confident. Arrogant streak that's kind of slightly in him, which is kind
Gellert
of like,
Ashbourne, surprisingly competent.
Yeah,
like that's I think it should be his tagline at the moment.
It's so funny.
I'm doing all the things, like I'm doing not all the things, not being travid.
Yeah,
but I'm doing my part, and as a new senator, I think that's all you can really expect of us.
Genuinely though, I was hugely impressed by you and by the people who work with you, like Millie and Bungle.
My team's the best.
It's so good, like the relationship you have with them, like IC and OC, and how you all check in with each other and stuff. It's really good. Like they're generally watching you guys interact. IC is really interesting. Like when you're talking to Agni about like taking notes and things that you need done and administrative stuff, and when talking about Bung about like how like the plan of the day and what's happening and like the all this kind of stuff, and you're all sharing opinions. It's fascinating to be like, again, it's stuff I don't understand.
We'll get into some spicy senator action tomorrow in the next episode.
We will.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. We'll come back with Big Saturday.
Big